Okay, we're back again for more coding action. Um, had some struggles yesterday trying to get got the data out of the database, but how to structure in a way that would be easy to access to display to the user in Jinja. Um, so let me, so here's what I ended up coming up with last night after a little break. Um, excuse me. Okay, I don't know what that was. Um, all right, so basically what we're doing here is the attempt was we need to get for every user, we need to get all three of their portfolios. Well, if they have three, one, two, or three, and then display all the stocks for the portfolio for the user. So the left join was pretty simple. It was just, and again, technically, you could just use a join because there shouldn't be a portfolio existing without a stock. But um, I mean, I don't even know how it would be possible. But so select all from portfolios. Then we left join. This is the many to many's join table. So we join it by the portfolio IDs, and then we left join onto that the stock table with the stock IDs, and we do it where user ID equals user ID. Okay, simple. So the user ID is just um, the session ID, so that's easy. Then we get all the data. So that part was really pretty basic, straightforward. It's just it was coming in. Obviously, if we look at, let me pull up MySQL just to give an idea of what this would look like. What we're going to get from that, make sure this is the right one. Yeah. So what that query would give us is this. So I think this is Peter Parker. Or no, this is Paul Rudd, obviously. I'm like quickly running out of usernames and portfolio names too. But he's got three portfolios here, right? So what that query is going to give is every one of these line items as a row. I mean, it's basically just going to look like this. And so the issue was though, these all need to be combined in one with a list of these stocks attached to them. Same with this, same with this. So what I decided on is at first I was trying to create a list of three objects, basically create three objects, each portfolio being its own object, and then have, it's obviously the portfolio name, portfolio ID, all that stuff, and then a self.stocks that could be accessed. That wasn't working right. I know you can do it. It was just way too many conditionals that seemed to make things more complicated. So what I did is I did a dictionary. And so portfolios is an empty dictionary. And for row in results, so for each of these rows, those are our rows, we set portfolio ID equal to the row portfolio ID. Pretty straightforward. So I think these ones are 10, 11, and 12. Okay, if portfolio ID is not in portfolios, then we'll create a new class row, or we'll take the row and turn it into an object, essentially. That way, we only get one object of each portfolio IDs. I think it was 11 or 10, 11, and 12, whatever it was, instead of, 6 10s, 4 11s, and 2 12s. So that takes care of that issue. And then so if it exists already, it'll skip this. Not, we'll create the object, right? That's all this CLS row is. It's turning the row data into an object. And then we're going to get the stock ID data for each row. And then we are going to append it to stocks, which is the empty list up here for each row. This way, now it attaches each stock to its appropriate portfolio. Then, and then we'll return portfolios. This I was playing with just to see how I was going to access everything in Jinja, because it gets a little confusing when you have dictionaries, objects, lists, right? There's different ways. Like in a list, you're going to use an index. You're going to index through it. A dictionary, you can kind of do that by using value or key. And then, of course, with objects, you can do dot notation. And so it kind of gets a little bit confusing. And so I was trying to like play around with that. So I'm just going to run so we can see what this looks like. Uh, so, oops. Okay, so let's check out. So this is going to take us to the portfolios page. So what we'll do is take a look at, whoops. We're just going to take a look at what happens here in the terminal because it's going to query this automatically when we go to the portfolios page. So we will log in. I think I spelled Paul Rudrot right. Apologies if not. Okay. Yes. So what I was trying to do is make sure I could access the name for each stock because that's essentially what we're gonna show the ticker and the symbol, but um, so for value in portfolios dot values, right? So this is a diction. So let me actually, it might be easier if I do, let me print portfolios just so you can see what this actually looks like. We'll rerun this. So you can see here's our three portfolios, portfolio ID 10, 11, 12, and each of those has a value of an object for 10, 11, and 12. So what we can do then, now in Jinja, we're not going to know the portfolio ID, right? It could be 10,022, assuming that many users sign up, that'd be great. Or it could be 1, 2, and 3. Like there's no way to know. So what we need to do, well, I shouldn't say that. Technically, we could just grab it with a query, but for ease of use, to not have to make another query to check all the portfolio IDs, I'm just going to use for value in portfolios dot values, right? So if I do dot values now, it will should give us just the three objects. Yes, which it does. So it gives us a list of three objects. Wonderful. And then for value in portfolios dot values, and then for and so then that would give us, let's just so this would grab, let's say this would grab this object, right? The first one. But then I need to go through and need to get each stock. So then I have to do whatever the length of value, because this is an object, right? Value is an object. We use the dot operator. I think I'm saying that right, or dot notation, to grab stocks, the list to grab, right? Dot stock, self dot stocks. And then from there, we can loop through. So for I in range, length of the value of the stocks. So actually, let's do, because this is a list now, I should just be able to do that, right? I think so. Oh, nope. Yeah, that's not going to work. Okay. But that's what this is grabbing. So for the first object, it's grabbing all the stocks. And then we can iterate through those stocks and we can grab their name. Because in the, where's my stock class? Right? So name. And if we want to, we can grab the ticker. And this is essentially what I'm going to do in the Jinja. I just wanted to play with it here before I started building all the Jinja and the HTML and then like breaking things. So you can see here, we grabbed all the tickers. So it'd be pretty easy to use. I mean, for me, it's even a bit confusing to go when you're messing around with like lists and then dictionaries and then objects all in one. But I think it still makes sense to put everything in an object because it is a bit easier and it keeps you from like something messing up and giving bad data back. Like it's never going to put, unless it got stored incorrectly, there's no way the ticker is going to be attached to the wrong stock name, right? Or attached to the wrong portfolio if we go through and just do it this way. even though it's a way more complicated than I was doing when I first made this. One other thing I did too was I wanted to get these routes really clean, and my understanding is I did hear this from so the way my boot camp was teaching Python, they were basically showing both ways. You could validate data or do like a data dictionary to pass through to the query on the controller, or back here in the model, inside the class. And then they were saying it's safer if we do all this actually in the class, for user and everything and for the actual application. So that's what I'm moving everything back there. So I messed around with a little bit of that. So I created, let's see, I already forget. So if you see this new one, I should have saved what it used to look like. That would have been a good idea. I made a picture, but it used to be really long. It was basically 3 times this size. So everything was kind of like this length. So I don't know, maybe 8 to 10 lines of code. So what I've done is put all of that, basically all this stuff into their own methods. And what I'm doing to keep it clean is anything having to do with the Y Finance library to get the Yahoo Finance API data is going to go in helpers. So I actually don't know if this is the right place to store this, but for now, all of that will be in here. That way, the only place that needs to import Y Finance will be helpers.py, and I don't need to mess with it anywhere else. Everything else will just be a static method within whatever class. So, um, if it has to do with the portfolio, it'll be here, like to make sure the portfolio name is not empty. Um, Most of it's going to be with the stocks, though, making sure the tickers are right and all that kind of stuff. But so I'll just walk through these real quick. So for tickers, stock.clean symbols. And so I'm going to pass the request.form.get list of tickers through to this. If we go, so that's going to be in stocks. So if we go to the clean symbols, we have the ticker list like we had before, and then we're going to do an empty list of tickers for ticker and ticker list. We're going to make sure it's not empty because, again, the form is going to it's returning a whole list of up to 20 stocks at a time, which they could only put 3 stocks in. They could put 1 stock in or whatever. And so you're going to have a bunch of empty, which will mess things up. So to get around that, we're just doing this, make sure the length of ticker is not 0 before we even send it to Y Finance. And so here's where this comes in. So if helpers.symbol check is not false, so we go to helpers, helpers. So symbol check. So it's going to go and it's going to download the ticker. If the data is empty, return false. Otherwise, it's going to give us the name. So that all happens in one function now. And so if it's not false, it's going to return what we want, and it's going to append that ticker in uppercase just to keep it clean because for Y Finance, I don't know if it changes it when it sends it to Yahoo Finance, but it doesn't need to be uppercase. Some APIs that I've used before, like trading views in particular, well, it's not technically trading views, but it does access their data, requires uppercase symbols, and it requires to know what exchange things trade on, even though it's rarely ever the right exchange. It's really a strange thing in general, but so that takes care of, that'll return our tickers, all taken care of there. Great. And then we get the stock names. Ooh, actually, I don't even need this. I guess I could combine this into this because otherwise we're calling twice, right? We're calling to make sure the ticker's real, and we're calling to get the stock name, which is twice the amount of time. So I'm not going to fix that now, but I am going to fix that so this is all one. Yeah, I could just have this return in helpers because it already is returning the name. Because I grabbed this from the way I did it in the old application. I could just have it, let's see. Could just have it return the name here because it's already returning it here. Okay. Yeah, do that. We're going to combine these. Combine. Okay. So I will do that. That'll be easy. Since we're still just testing, it's not gonna. We're only putting a couple tickers in at a time, but that would cut the time literally in half. Um, and then stock.get stock IDs. So what this one does is we grab the tickers and the stock names, and we go into stock, get stock IDs, and what this is going to do is query the stock in the database. It's basically just checking to see if it's already in the database. If it is, this check stock. It's not doing this twice, is it? So for iron range length, the tickers. Oh yeah, this is just an append. Yeah, okay. So it's going to send. So it's going to take the data and send it to the check stock, which is up here. It's going to grab. It's going to select all the tickers from the stocks table, run through them. If the stock does exist, if it's already in tickers, right, then it's going to go and just grab the ID. So select star from stocks where this equals this, blah, 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 return the ID for that stock. Otherwise, it's going to add the stock, which is a pretty simple, just insert into, and which will also return the ID. So either way, we're going to get IDs back for the stocks. So we get stock IDs back. Then we are going to validate the portfolio data, go through. Where's my validate? So again, we're going to pass the request dot form through, right? Then we're going to parse the data out into a data dictionary. Yes, this is all fine. Then again, it's going to check, also need to check and make sure that the name is not already, so similar to the stock IDs, if the name for that user already exists as a portfolio name, right here, we're going to let them know that portfolio name already exists and to use a new one, which we already tested. I just moved it. We already had that built yesterday. I just moved it over to this side, and then that will validate the data. If it is false, it'll redirect us back and say, hey, that name already exists. And then, okay, yeah. And then we go here and then we do a portfolio, make a new portfolio. If the data validates, the name doesn't already exist, then we'll just save it as a new portfolio. Pretty simple. And then we have to go ahead and do for iron range. I haven't moved this to the back side yet because I'm still trying to think like if I really need. I mean, I guess I do need a model here. So, um, whoops, where am I? Yeah, and then so this is just the join data and saving. I guess I can just do this right now. Let's create. So we'll just change this to be. Maybe just like, hey, having to write out portfolio stocks data. Maybe I just do port stocks data. And then this will just be, what do I need? Portfolio ID, and that will just be data. Make sure I'm calling it the right thing. New portfolio. Oh, shoot, where's that grabbing that from? Ooh, maybe I can't do this. maybe this will have to stay up here because yeah, I actually think this is fine to be up here because the user isn't inserting any data here, right? This is all data that's been completely validated already. And so there's no way, I don't think, that the user can kind of mess up our query accidentally or purposefully, which would not be nice. So actually, I think this is fine here because it's going to need to access. It needs, I mean, I could pass all this through. It's not that big of a deal. Maybe I should do that. I'm thinking too, it just would look cleaner. Yeah, because I could just pass in stock IDs and this new portfolio ID right into this. Mm, hmm. Yeah, I don't love how these route. Like, I don't want them to get all nasty, long looking. I'd rather that stuff all happen in the back, so it's very clean up here. All right, so we'll just move it. So this is going to have to take portfolio ID and stock IDs. So what we will do is data is just portfolio ID. That's pretty simple. And oh shoot, but I'm gonna have to loop it still. That's fine. Stock ID is stock ID. Hmm. I don't need this return anything to me, do I? No. All right. Ooh. All right. So we're getting the portfolio ID passed in. And stock IDs for I in range and stock IDs. That should be fine. Um, I guess we'll find out. Or I will find out. Oh, wait. We already did that. All right, let's test this, and then I'm just going to add some notes here, and then I think it'd be time to display